Afternoon. Welcome to the regular City Council meeting on October 22nd. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
You may want to suspend the rules.
Yes, we need to suspend the rules for the changes. Do I have a motion on that?
Yeah, first, I'll second.
Motion by Lawrence, second by Mr. Gines. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous votes with dimming out of the room. Will you please read those changes, Ms. Lucy?
To our consent agenda, we're removing item 5F, which is a resolution for the original beignet factory. Excuse me. We're substituting item 5H, resolution authorizing the sale of structures on Division Street. We're adding item 5R, resolution to approve and authorize the lowest and best bid to demolish the structure at 1001 Division Street. And we're adding a docket to our routine agenda in the amount of $609.20.
Got a motion to move it as amended by Mr. Lawrence and second by Mr. Gines. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous vote with dimming out of the room. Moving on to presentation agenda. Mayor's report.
Thank you, Madam President. It's my pleasure again to turn our part of the report to Ms. Susan Hunt and Dr. Drawdy to do a very special thing, as we did last time, about some accomplishments that our children have done, the 30 plus, which is a big number for ACT and a big part of anyone's collegiate and future. So Susan, here you go.
Thank you, darling. The reason why they like for me to come back, I get to come back November the 12th. We'll be back with the rest of our young people. Boney, give them out their bread. Okay. All right. So this is an honor because it's awesome to see these young people. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Drawdy, our interim superintendent. He's going to do some explaining to you. I'm going out in the back and get my young people lined up. Dr. Drawdy.
Mr. Mayor, we just do what Susan Hunt says, don't we? This is going to be very habit-forming for me, and I'm delighted because we get to exemplify and show the quality of students that attend Biloxi Public Schools, but especially Biloxi Senior High School. To score a 30 or better on an ACT examination is phenomenal. 36 is the possible score, and for them to have scored 30 or better is great. In fact, I just talked to one young lady. She said, I just finished and got a 34 on hers. So it's phenomenal, as I said, when they get to that point. The ACT is something that we've really started emphasizing this year at Biloxi Senior High School. And we're in the process of building posters, or if you go to football games, you see posters of athletes and posters of cheerleaders and the like. And we think that it's important that we recognize scholars. And that's what we're doing now at Biloxi Senior High School. And in the very near future, there will be posters hanging from many of the light poles throughout the entire campus, so students can see the students and how well that they've done on ACT. But then also, too, it could be an incentive for their friends have made it. Maybe I can make that same score. As I said, ACT examination is phenomenal. And I'm going to let Mr. Marcus Boudreau now, who is principal of the high school, and he's got some additional information that we're very, very pleased with. He's going to share that with you right now. Marcus.
I'm done with. Sorry, I was outside getting yelled at by Ms. Hunt. She's trying to get everybody lined up. We're very proud of our kids. We started out the school year with approximately 50 kids that have a 30 or above on the ACT, which we couldn't be prouder of. However, we just got our school day ACT results back, and we get to add about 8 more students to that list. So we're up to about 58 students with a 30 or above on the ACT. And it was so many that we had to spread it across 3 city council meetings. So we're very proud of that, very happy to be here. We appreciate the city council taking the time to let us bring our kids in and get this recognition. And without further ado, we'll bring them up one at a time. They're super excited to be here. Our first one is a carryover from last week. He couldn't make it last week, Addison All. Guys, after you get your certificate, y'all line up in front of the council up here. All right, next we have Homer Ellis. Jacob Gartizer. Lindsay Garay. Veronica. Kyle Hancock. Just making sure they're the right ones. Hendricks, yeah. William Hendricks. Michael Herndon. Michaela Herndon. And Michaela is also a National Merit semifinalist. Samuel Hughes. Lauren Johnson. Cale Keith. Veronica Landry. Piper Lind. Peyton Lyons. And Jose Martinez. And we've got about 16 more to bring back on November the 12th.
He's getting big. I think he's at the Palace.
Okay, Madam President, I'd like to ask Peter Abad to introduce a very special addition that you approved the last meeting to our judicial system. Peter?
Thank you, Mayor. We've got our newest pro tem judge here, April Reddy. I'm going to ask her to come up and say a few words about herself. It's not a confirmation hearing, but just let her give you a little background on herself. Do you like beer? I believe she was sworn in this morning, so that's good.
Thank you. I was just sworn in this morning and had no idea that I'd be coming here today to speak. Peter forgot to tell me that little tidbit. So I'll just give you a brief background of myself. I am not a native of Biloxi. I grew up in a much bigger city north of here, the town of Wiggins. Actually, I didn't grow up in Wiggins. I grew up about a mile north of the Stone County line in the middle of nowhere on a chicken farm. And growing up on a chicken farm will make you want to go to college and law school just to make sure you don't end up having to work on the chicken farm. It's hard work. But my parents still own that farm today, and they were very, very proud. Let's just say that. It was a proud moment for them earlier today to see me sworn in. I'm so honored by this. My husband and I have been living in Biloxi for about 20 years now. I've been practicing law here since 1998. My son goes to North Bay Elementary School. He's a fourth grader there. We love this city, and we are truly honored that I've been asked to serve the city, and I will do my best. Thank you.
Okay. Judge, just want to know, do you like beer? I mean, root beer, Barks root beer? I just want to know.
Love me some Barks root beer.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Appreciate it.
That's it. That's our
That's our report.
That's our first Wool Market judge as well, so I think so.
Madam President, that concludes my report, I think, right? Yeah, okay.
And it looks like we have a departmental report. Oscarinda.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Matranga, Project Manager for Oscarinda Contracting. We'll start on the west side of the project. We have installed base course of asphalt on Forest from the Keesler Gate construction project, which is Cherokee on Forest to Park Circle, South Park Court, and we are preparing. We have road base has been installed. We're trying to finish up the last of the storm drain. One storm drain structure, and I think a piece of storm drain pipe to where we can install the curbing and the asphalt up to the current Keesler Gate. Then we'll jump ahead of that and finish up the remainder of the storm drain and the sewer work north of the Keesler Gate to the project boundary. I believe we should be doing that on Thursday. We have a detour set up. We are on Benaki. I believe last month I told y'all we had some really deep sewer services to connect from the back of the houses to the front of the houses that were causing us some problems, and they continue to cause us some problems. We're having to just change our method of work and get a plumber involved, because we're not licensed plumbers to run services out from the back of the house to the front of the house, because we can't get any machines back there. So we're working on that. We're finishing up on Raynor. I believe today we'll have all of the aggregate, all of the limestone down on Raynor. We're setting up string line for curb to where we can tomorrow pour the curb on the west side of the road. By the end of the week, pour the curb on the east side of the road, and getting that ready for base course of asphalt. We add base course of asphalt from Division to Strawberry or Bradford, I think Strawberry. And we just finished up the last storm drain structure on that road today. And we're also on Forest. We're doing sidewalk. Our sidewalk crews are running on Forest, and they'll be there until the sidewalks on Forest are complete. We are on Cuevas, south of Division, finishing up the storm drain pipe on that road. Hopefully by the end of the week, maybe the middle of next week, we'll finish with that storm drain. There's a lot of structures on that road. It's going to take us some time. There are 12 structures on that small stretch of road. So we're working on the structures as well over there. And we're all throughout the project from Main Street west, doing punch-out items, preparing for surface course of asphalt. We are in the final closeout phases of SXSN, GRN4, GRN5, and DIV 1 and 2, working on a final punch list on those areas. And I think that's about, tomorrow, Warren Paving will be out to put the base course of asphalt on Forest, And we have some repair asphalt work on Bayview and 7th Street and SXSN that we'll be doing. And that's what I got.
Any questions?
No questions. Believe it or not, a couple lives on a corner of Forest and Meadows, the gate. Told me to tell you that people working out there are really extremely friendly, nice, and they've done everything they did to help them. So they just want to pass it on to you to thank you for that crew. I know it's hard, Blue, that coming from me, but
I'm about ready to fall out, but
they're extremely impressed with him.
thank you.
Wanted to pass it back to you.
Appreciate that.
Any other questions? Mr. Lawrence?
Yes, I just have two questions. What's the number of production workers you actually have out there at this point?
I don't know the exact number. I mean, I can email it to you if that's important to you.
Yes, very important. Very
But if I had to say, probably 60, 65.
of production workers.
Yeah. Right now, on this project, everybody's a production worker. I can guarantee you that, me included. I got a blister to prove it.
Okay, and my last question is, out of the entire project, how many roads, what's the percentage of completed roads we have on the east side north project? The percentage of closed out,
SXSN, DIV 1 and 2,
I mean,
GR and
yeah, the whole 3-year to 5-year project.
I mean, I don't have, like, the number of roads committed to memory, but I do know where,
Okay.
if you're wanting.
May I have the roads that are closed out?
I tell you what, I'll email that to you. How about that?
Okay.
I mean,
get 'em-
I can show you this
Please get them
map.
to Walt, take it through the,
Well, Walt should be able to give you that information pretty quickly, just as I am. He has the same information.
okay. Just want to make sure that we're consistent.
Oh, absolutely. All of these streets? So all of these streets are complete, 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 all of these streets are complete. Probably, when I say complete, I'm saying have final surface course of asphalt. In GRS 3 and 4, probably 50% of them have a leveling surface course of asphalt. There's quite a few in GRS 3 and 4 that are complete. I mean, Ebony, Murray, those streets in your area, those are complete. We have some streets in GRN 3 that are complete. So, but, you want to know exact quantities, Walt can get you that.
Yes, I would love that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, being no more departmental reports, we'll move on to council reports. Mr. Lawrence?
Well, we have a cemetery tour started Sunday, and Fofo was out there. He wasn't buried. He was out there. He almost was buried. And then they have it again today, Tuesday. The weather should be great, so there's a pretty good stories on some of that. Like say, it's a colorful history of Biloxi. That's a nice way to put that. But anyway, it's pretty interesting. So if y'all get a chance, y'all need to go out there today. That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Gaines?
Okay, yes, I would like to schedule a meeting later on next week or the end of the week with Walt, the mayor, and CAO, Mr. Mike Leonard, concerning the road, so we can go ahead and start finding a way to wrap this on up. Okay, and with that being, I want to extend the remainder of my time to Mr. Michael Griffin. Want him to come up and speak about a project, an ongoing, a possible project.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Councilman Guines, for the time to speak before the council today. My name is Michael Griffin. I reside at 11827 River State Circle, Biloxi, and I own property on Main Street, 379 and 379A. I am here today to respectfully request you deny case number 19-051, which is a request to authorize a change in zoning district classification for a parcel of land from its present zoning district classification of 5S1-5, 5RS-5, high-density, single-family residential, to an RM-30, high-density multifamily residential, located at 366 Main Street. Zoning is designed to protect family, property, and stability in an area. This property is currently zoned as a high-density single-family residential, and there's no need to change it for multifamily residential. Rezoning will change the neighborhood, such as bringing to the area more people, which means more traffic, vehicle and foot traffic, noise, possibly crime. And I'm not saying that the people that will come in will be criminals, but the law of averages tell you more people, you're going to have more of everything. This rezoning has been tried before in our neighborhood. A couple of years ago, we had a developer that came in and wanted to, and actually got the rezoning request to rezone this parcel of land that's on Moran Alley and Elder Street. And he wanted to rezone it from single family to multifamily, which he got. The request resulted in granting 6 variances, widening of the road, and countless man hours by the city departments, not to mention money, just to make something fit in the area, not designed for that type of development. And in the end, you guys, city council, denied him the project that he was trying to put there, the 12 apartments. And in the end, he did develop the property as a single-family property. We are not opposed to development. We welcome development. Only smart development, development that will benefit our community, where our families can be comfortable, safe, and increase property value. Again, thank you for this opportunity, and I respectfully ask that you deny this rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And basically, we have the Hope 6 housing complex in that area, and of course we've been hurting as a result of Katrina, and we only have one opportunity to build it back right, and sticking with the plan of bringing in family housing is the way to go. So thank you, Michael, for that. That concludes my report.
Mr. Deming? Mr. Tisdale?
Just a reminder that we do not have a council meeting next week because we never have council meetings on the 5th Tuesday, nothing special. But this is my opportunity to tell everybody, be sure that you have a safe Halloween, right? Don't forget those safety tips that the chief puts out periodically. Also, there's a homecoming parade this Thursday in downtown Biloxi. Hadn't seen that in a while. And the ACT scores of 30 or above, those students recognize, just that is quite an accomplishment. Most folks, it doesn't mean anything to you. It seems like a big number. That's great. But if you can hit an ACT score of 30 or better, that opens the door to huge scholarships of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's quite quite an accomplishment by the students, parents, school, everybody involved. So that is significant, and that's quite a number here locally. Thank you.
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge Director Bell, Parks and Recreation, also Greg Eleuteris for a job well done for the Youth Football League that just wrapped up. If y'all get a chance, drop by the Gruidge Center tonight. There's a award ceremony for all those kids, and I think we're giving them kind of free food and chicken and all that kind of stuff for their efforts. It's always good to see those kids' eyes kind of light up. Also, on the agenda today, we have, the mayor has approved a person to serve in Ward 6 for the tree committee. His name's Bo Blaylock. He works for Gulf Coast Produce, Mike and Christy Elise, and he's expressed his desire to serve on that committee, so I'm sure he'll go through with flying colors, I think. And that concludes my report.
Mr. Barrett?
Just a couple of things. The project between Harrison County and Biloxi on Jim Bird Road's looking really good. I know that we have a couple of more that are supposed to be on the agenda. Do you know when Snug Harbor's going to come so that on the agenda so that we can move that over to Harrison County?
Supervisor Rocco has asked me to do a resolution requesting their help to split the job 50-50, but she also cautioned me that they probably can't do any paving this close to the election, but it can be set up, teed up, if you will, be ready to go when their time.
Yeah. So
period.
we only have 2 weeks before the election, so if we put it on the agenda for that first or second meeting in November, we should be fine.
I'll ask her. I'm not sure what their rule is about when they can pave. Mason Road, by the way, with Supervisor Martin was approved.
Yes.
And that one is ready to go, but she told me today that they're not allowed to pave right now.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right. And then want to give a shout out to our Public Works Department. They've been out digging ditches on Dundeewood area and had a couple of calls from people that live out there, so they're doing a good job. So give them kudos for that. And that's all I have.
How about that po' boy place?
Oh, yeah. Everybody needs to go online. There's a competition every year for the best po' boy on the Gulf Coast, and we have one Biloxi place left. That's Toronto's out in Woolmarket. And so I think right now they're losing by about 60 votes. And so everybody go vote for Toronto's. It's on my Facebook page. I don't even know.
Go to Nathan Barrett's Facebook page, and he'll have the link.
That's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Deming?
Mr. Mayor, this past weekend we had the Guns and Hoses pickleball tournament. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend. Have you gotten any updates? I thought Mr. Tom
There were
Pickleball was going to be here to beat me up.
96 players from Louisiana, Alabama, and points north in Mississippi. So it was a great success, even though it started out a little wet. A good time was had by all. Sparklight was the main sponsor, and their general manager presented the trophy to the firemen, who won again this year, just by a small margin.
Yeah, they
so
called me.
The Hoses beat the Guns this year yet again.
They called me and told me they needed my spot, that I wasn't good enough. That they had to give my spot to somebody else.
I think they had you. It was like a 3 we were going to share, and they called me at the last minute and said, "Hey, it looks like you're playing all the games because Nathan's not." Unfortunately, I couldn't make it either, and I guess you didn't make it. So they could have had 100 people had we made it.
It was really an amazing turnout, and that group of volunteers has done remarkable things for us, with some support from Public Works and Parks and Recs, but a lot of stuff that they've just done on their own. That's 4 old tennis courts that turned into 12 pickleball courts that are occupied on a regular basis by a lot of young and old people.
And I think that's probably per capita, we spent less on generating that type of participation than in any other project we've done.
But we're becoming pickleball central, so anyway.
I have nothing.
Okay. And I just wanted to say thanks to the Parks and Recs Department. We had another awesome year at Halloween events. And look forward to next year. And thanks for all who came out and all the businesses that helped out as well. So we'll move on to the public agenda where we have citizen comments. Each citizen is allowed 3 minutes each to speak. And once you reach the desk, please sign your name and address as well as state it aloud for the record. Anyone on my left, your right, that would like to come up and speak?
I'd like to say good afternoon to the city council, the mayor, and all of his staff. I'm here on a couple of issues today. One issue, and I was hoping the lady from Oscar Render stuck around a little bit. She said a lot of those roads are completed. The backfilling that they are not doing, and on people's property between the sidewalks and their fence lines filled with lime rocks, grass doesn't grow. It is terrible. It's one of the most worst construction jobs I've ever seen when it comes to taking care of the neighbor's property after they have gone. And when they come down, finish these streets, with the sweeper, they spray all this debris back up on the curbs. If you ride down through that area, all the gutters are full of dirt, sand, rocks, and and all the debris just catches on it when it rains, and it just stays there. And you know what happens when dirt stays there like that? Grass starts growing in it. And the attitude of the people in that community now that used to blow the grass up in their yard, they blow it all out in the street now because they see all the other debris on the streets. It's terrible. It is awful. And I talked to some of the inspectors out there. They say they have no authority. They just count how much sidewalk they put out, how much asphalt they pour. And we paying them to be out there to supervise this. It's awful. The other thing I want to say is that my family, we own property at 372 Main Street, which is directly across from the property that on zoning change for B. We're opposed to it. I spoke out about it at the planning commission. We would like to keep that single family in that neighborhood. We have Bay Augusta right there around it, and also Bayview. We don't need no more apartments there. We need to encourage people to come back in this community, single families. And I would hope that you all would give this some serious consideration and not to approve this, because everything that looks good is not good. And I would hope that you all seriously consider denying this application.
Anyone else on my left?
Good afternoon. My name is Liz Corcoran. I'm the property owner of 366 Main Street. And I just wanted to speak on behalf of the project. Right now, it's a vacant piece of land. People throw their trash on it. It's not very attractive. The project that I've seen so far that the buyer is intending to put on that property, it does not look like it's a high-density development. There is room, there's still green space, and they're going to do some kind of pond and maybe a retention pond. And it looks like a really nice project. It could greatly improve the area. And as far as single-family on that area, I did talk to a builder briefly about that. He was not encouraging as far as cost-effectiveness to build single-family there. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Anyone else on my left?
My name is Bobby Heinrich, 370 Courthouse Road in Gulfport, and I made the presentation to the Planning Commission on this project, item number B. And I just want to make myself available if you have any questions when you come to this project, that I would be happy to answer any questions you may have. Unless I can answer questions right now.
What was your name again?
Bobby Heinrich. I made the presentation for the Planning Commission that we were. I'm sorry. So anyway, the property, it's currently zoned the S-5, which is high-density residential. It actually states in the zoning that multifamily is allowed. So duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes are allowed in that zoning. There was some question about that. So we were directed to go ahead and ask for the rezone to the RS. The next thing would be the RM30, which allows multifamily. So we were just trying to clean up the zoning to allow this, what we're trying to do, and we're requesting to do 7 fourplex units there, and not actually putting 30 units per acre. It'd actually be about 28 units. And if this is granted, you would be allowed to do 42 units. We're not asking for that many units. So I have pictures and I have some drawings to show that I presented, and I'll be happy to do that at that time if y'all would like me to. I didn't know if this was the right time to do that or not. That'll work. Thank you.
Anyone else on my left? Anyone on my right, your left, that would like to come up and speak? Anyone in the back? If not, citizen comments are now closed.
Ordinance for a zoning change for AR agricultural restricted to RS10 low density single family for property fronting upon Campbell Drive as 1011 Campbell Drive.
I'll move that.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Glavin, seconded by Mr. Tisdale. Being a first reading, we'll move on to ordinance B.
Ordinance to approve a zoning map amendment from RS5 high density to RM30 high density multifamily for a property site identified as 366 Main Street.
Do we have a motion? Do I have a motion? Fails for lack of motion. Move on to resolution C.
Resolution granting minor subdivision final plat approval for property identified as 13287 Jim Bird Road.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Barrett, second by Mr. Glavin. Any discussion, Mr. Barrett?
Jerry, is this just someone splitting a piece of property? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. No further discussion.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous vote. Brings us to resolution D.
Resolution to grant final subdivision plat approval for Nature's Trails subdivision Phase 2.
I'll move it.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Barrett, second by Mr. Glavin. Any discussion, Mr. Barrett?
Yeah, is Mr. Stiefel here? I thought I saw him earlier. There he is. Can you tell this? We've met and discussed that we had some issues. Now, and with this coming to the final part, this will tighten up those issues that we've had, right? And then also, as far as the detention pond or whatever being rerouted in this area, how are we coming with that?
Say that again.
The drainage. You know how we were talking about changing the direction just because it was bottlenecking.
Yeah, all items have been taken care of, with the only exception of the riprap has been delivered.
Okay.
It's on site, and they just need to place it. The weather caught up with them yesterday, and so it's probably by the end of the week it'll be done.
Okay.
But they do have the riprap in place. All the other items on the punch list have been resolved.
Okay, that's all I have. But if you want to stay there, I got a question 2 more down. So that's all I have.
Any other discussion? No? All in favor? Unanimous vote. With dimming out of the room, we'll move on to resolution E.
Resolution to grant final subdivision plat approval for 46 lot subdivision as Glen Eagle subdivision Phase 2.
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Barrett,
I'll second the resolution.
seconded by Mr. Glavin. Any discussion, Mr. Barrett?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Glavin?
I have none.
Anyone else? All in favor? Unanimous vote with Deming out of the room. Move on to resolution F.
Resolution to grant final subdivision plat approval for River Ridge subdivision.
I'll move it.
And I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Barrett, seconded by Mr. Glavin. Any discussion, Mr. Barrett?
You have a lot on the agenda today, don't you? On this one, this is right at the front of Eagle Point. There's 15 houses on like around 20 acres, is that correct? Correct. And those are going to be anywhere from a half acre to an acre lot, something like that. I know that Noah Saunders is the one in there doing the work. Is he doing the building as well? Or who's going to be building the homes?
As I understand it, he's negotiating with a builder to
Okay.
build all the houses at one time, essentially.
Okay, so they're going to go in and put the roads in and all the infrastructure first, then the builder will come along.
Well, for these particular lots, we had to put water and sewer and drainage in, but there are no new roads.
Nothing going through the middle, it'll all be coming off of Shorecrest?
Yeah, what you see there is basically
all the entrances. Okay, one more question. Whenever you find out who the builder's going to be, will you let me know? Because I have a lot of inquiries, people that are actually interested and that have homes that they have for sale in Eagle Point that are interested in buying there. So that's why I was asking who the builder is.
Yes, sir, I will do that.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
All in favor? Unanimous vote with Deming in the room. We'll move on to G.
I don't know. Are you here? Are you here, Debbie?
You missed the pickleball thing, now you can't sit down.
Move on to resolution G.
Resolution granting conditional use approval for the establishment of 2 self-service storage facilities located at Pass Road, Iberville Drive.
Motion? Motion by Mr.
Second.
Guines, seconded by Mr. Deming, or Mrs. Deming. With Mr. Barrett out of the room. Any discussion, Mr. Guines? Mr.
My
Deming?
turn next? Get off.
Huh? Any discussion?
With anything you gotta say here?
Any other discussion?
No?
No? No? All in favor? Unanimous vote. Brings us to resolution H.
Resolution confirming and approving the mayor's appointment of Bo Morris Blaylock, Ward 6 representative to the Biloxi Tree Committee.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Glavin, seconded by Mr. Tisdale. Any discussion, Mr. Glavin?
All I gotta say is Bo's chomping at the bit. He's called me night and day for probably the last 3 months. I think he even attended ad hoc, just as a voluntary basis with the committee. So I think he'll make a good representative on the tree committee.
Is Mr. Blaylock here?
No, he's out of town, and but he said he'll be tuning in later on to the B News or B Channel or whatever that is. So.
I have one question,
Sure.
not about him. Does that fill up the tree committee? We need more.
We're still working on Ward 7, and Councilman Barrett's given us a couple of names
And that would fill it up?
for now.
Okay. Thank you.
Any discussion, Mr. Tisdale?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor? Unanimous vote with Barrett out of the room. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Tisdale, second by Mr. Guines. Any discussion, Mr. Glavin?
I have none.
Mr. Tisdale?
Not a thing.
Mr. Barrett, Mr. Timmy.
Hey, there he comes. He's
They
back.
both look alike.
He's back.
I'm off my game today.
It's your turn, Peter.
On P, where's the parcel that we're selling to Orange? I know it's above, when I look on the map, it's north of the Wells Fargo Bank. Is it just that small little parking lot looking area?
It's actually the parking for about 3 or 4 spaces just to the east of his patio, where the patio is that they built.
Right, this is the
It's half of the parking lot in front of the jambalaya shop.
was looking at the map, and that was interesting. Mr. Leonard, did you get that information regarding the FEMA payments?
Actually, Peter's got it in front of him, if you'd like to hear it. And his question had to do with the Magnolia Hotel and the
library.
FEMA amount.
Right. It's an open question right now with FEMA. They put $482,000 into the property. That amount we already knew could be offset by any current, past, or future assistance to the Mardi Gras Museum, which we know is at least roughly $250,000 looking back and going forward. Checking with them this past week, they say there may be some flexibility since this was a repair, that they may be able to forgive it all, that we don't have to repay any of it back. So our suggestion is going to be that we set a certain amount aside and just work through the process with FEMA. They understand the situation, and it was purchased for preservation purposes, and they understand that this would actually help the preservation of that building.
Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, though, but there's a number of, some offsets that we can generate as far as what we actually put into it that would reduce that figure even further.
Right.
Closer to the mic, Mr. Mayor.
There are a number of things that we've done that would offset even that figure, that they would say, okay, you owe me $400,000. Well, we put in some money, we had some money ongoing from that day, so that would reduce that number even further. That would be, investment in it that can, and things that we did for the Mardi Gras Museum and all of that between, whatever point in time it was. So we're hopeful that they won't ask for anything, but even if they do ask for whatever that number is, we've got a number of hundreds of thousands of dollars that we could actually, reduce that figure.
So do we have a cash flow sheet to show what this actually would result in? Will this, if they asked us to repay back 100% and didn't forgive any of it, would this still be a zero-sum gain, or would this be, where would we be at?
If we had to repay everything, that'd be $480,000, and the purchase price is $800,000. So it's a $320,000 gain.
Clear, yeah.
Worst case.
Okay. We have no other financial encumbrances on that property at all?
No. But they have to recognize the relocation of the Mardi Gras Museum. They have to recognize any other improvements that have been done, and I think they will recognize
So
that
do
it
they
was a
have to
repair.
recognize that, or are we just asking them to recognize that?
When we notified them about it, they said they were going to check that there may be, their initial thought was that it may be no repayment required because it was a repair in the length of time.
But at the end of the day, the worst-case scenario is we're still gaining. It's a net sum of $380,000.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Let me ask you a question on that. Is it, if this 15 years, there's no time limit on that with FEMA and MEMA? It's 15 years since you had that money.
Right.
There's got to be a time limit.
Well, that's why they're looking at their new guidelines, and they feel that whatever they had in place before, and they look at everything on a case-by-case basis, but we feel pretty confident that most or not, if not all of it, would be forgiven or not have to be repaid, because technically the old regs were like you'd have to wait till the end of the entire FEMA project, and this is so we're sort of being brought into all of the north and the south and the west contract, which this particular project was closed out 6, 7 years ago. So
I'm going to tell you, the wear and tear on that $480,000, you're going to have to pay them back $480,000. Ain't no way.
well, that's why they're kind of understanding that if you had to wait 15 years, that you'd have to start repairing it all over again. So
Right.
they
And I kind of read that thing. Did you put a reverter clause in there where if they do anything wrong, it reverts back to the city of that property? I think that should be put in there.
Well, it's got the landmark designation on it that they can't do any, it has to stay as commercial property. That was and it has to stay as a landmark designation.
But that don't go back to us. That's what happened to the property over at the bank. They didn't put a reverter clause in, that's how we lost the property over there. That should be put in there. As long as they have a problem, and they fail or something, then it reverts back to the city. And I think that should be put in there before you pass it. That's just protecting us. Why not take it back if it don't work with them? If they wind up doing nothing with it, they just can't get it done, and it reverts back to the city.
Well, you'd have to
I
pay.
don't know if you have to talk to them, you need to table this, whatever you do, but that should
Well-
definitely be in there.
I wouldn't recommend that because we'd have to repay the $800,000 back. I mean, they have pulled permits
I
right
take
now.
that on that piece of property, Peter. I take that piece of property back. That's huge. Ain't no guarantee that they're gonna be successful with what they're doing. If there's anything wrong with it, I don't want them to sell it to somebody else or turn around and sell it to the next guy. The city has the first right for all this, to me. I mean, that's just simple business.
Well, I think the administration is right. That's cause for consideration. I mean, to put a clause in there like that would cost us something. And at the end of the day, if they fail, the next person steps up to the plate and does something different with the property or continues on the legacy of what that property was. I wouldn't support a reversion clause, taking a piece of property that didn't work for someone else and taking it back. It's just like the stadium.
Well, that's how they mess up, and that's how we lose a lot of property.
Yeah, but
And
we're
they
not
find
losing this
themselves
property,
doing
we're
anything they
selling
want.
this property.
I mean,
That's
it's
the whole
happened
idea, not
before,
going back.
2 or 3
Think
times.
about what we've done with this property for the last 15 years. Absolutely nothing.
That's right.
Well, I think you see the reversion clause when you give the property to somebody to do certain things, and if they don't do those things, it comes back. This was a sale that was part of a lease purchase. It didn't have anything about a reversion clause. It did say that the property keeps the commercial use designation on it, which it will, and that it has to be preserved under the landmark designation. And any approvals go through Archives and History. They're on their board meeting for next week for the improvements they're going to be doing. So they're going forward with their plans and project, contingent on this approval, of course.
And when he didn't pay his lease money, how come that lease wasn't canceled? If he's behind on his lease like he was?
He chose to exercise his option.
But I mean, we're supposed to be forgiving the money he didn't pay, so how would that thing even lie?
Well, the resolution lays out that all rent has been paid since May, but there was a delay in payment because of the previous restaurant and some architectural plans, and that is on his books as not being paid, and that's just something to be factored in. We weren't going to ignore that. That's just something we feel in the long run and based on the overall transaction, with the purchase price being $50,000 more than the 2 average appraisals, we feel that's something that could be justified as being taken into account and forgiven.
And I think that delay, any delay, stops that project from moving forward and starting to generate the revenue and the visitation that we think it will. So we encourage moving fast. I don't think there's a downside to what we're doing. Again, the option was laid out when we first made that agreement, and I don't think, again, with that amount of money in that base, I think we're protected all kinds of ways. So I encourage this support.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Barrett, you didn't get to go over any discussions that you might have? None? Mr. Guines?
None.
Anything else, Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, the other one I had was D. We always handled it in the house, and now we're paying somebody $65,000 to handle this outside the house. I mean, it didn't cost that much money. I mean, doesn't Susan Pickett run all this all the time?
D
Now you-
Delta? Grace,
yeah. Grace Aaron, as you know, is a consultant that we've used for many years to write grants for us and assist with other federal money, finding other federal monies. In the past, we have paid her out of our own city coffers, out of the administrative budget, and I just felt that if she was going to do work with the community development block grant, that her administrative costs could be paid from that grant. So the CBDG grant includes an administrative portion, and we just felt like it was more appropriate for her to bill her time to that, so we just set up a separate contract. That means she'll still do work for us as she did on Tidelands grants and so forth, but when she's working on community development block grant, she'll bill her time to that, at that other fund.
I mean, that's pretty expensive. I was wondering if she's gonna still do the other jobs. I mean, when you say this is for a year, I mean, that's a lot of money, and this money is pretty much set in and out of here. That money, that you don't go looking for the money comes to you from certain things. So I don't know if Susan maybe can explain this, because this pretty expensive. They had 65, I don't care that they paying for it themselves. That's still a lot of money.
This year, we start our new 5-year plan, so it's in a detailed plan that we have to do. In the past, we paid $50,000 just for the 5-year action plan. The $67,000 is going to pay for the admin services plus the 5-year action plan and any services that we may need to assist in the CDBG program.
So why'd it go up? We used to pay $50,000.
It's more detailed, more. It's a plan that we have to put together every 5 years. And in the past, we've paid this amount of money just for the 5-year comp plan.
Most of them was always set up for 3 years. They had to run things for 3 years. You either use it, you didn't use it, you reverted back to them. So I mean, I just think that's a lot. I know it comes out of this money, but it's still, that's pretty sporty money. Plan, you know.
Spend it or use it. Spend it or lose it. It's the administrative portion.
We found over the last years, it was cheaper for the city to use a consultant than to have additional staff for the program.
So we eliminating your job?
No. You can.
So you out of here? Oh, you're retired, all right. What are they running you up the road?
No.
All right, thank you.
Just a comment on the same topic. Miss Aaron's apparently proficient. She's been doing this kind of work for the city for a number of years, and if I understood correctly, previously she was paid out of the administration's budget, and she also did work for a community development block grant. By paying a portion of her contract out of CDBG, it saves money on the administrative side. That's part of the money that's an allowable expense under CDBG. She appears to be quite proficient, or we wouldn't still be using her after all these years. So,
well said.
Well, then I'm going to quit right now while I'm ahead. Thank you.
Don't mess
Yeah,
with
because I
it.
can say, where are you saving money at?
Don't mess with it
If
nowhere.
you still have 2 jobs, then you're not saving any money. You're trying to create money, but you're not saving anything.
Nobody said you were saving any money, but what
You just said that.
I didn't say that. I said it's
Run
being
the tape
funded.
back.
I said it's being funded out of 2 different sources instead of one source, and CDBG is helping to pay that cost. So there's less money coming out of the administrative budget. But what Ms. Pickett said was that you've got a more extensive report that's got to be filed annually. The fact that she's Miss Aaron apparently is very good at what she does means it's worth the expense.
You may recall from the tail end of the last fiscal year that we had to make several budget amendments into the from the general fund into the administrative budget to cover her costs and others as we were generating all these Gulf Coast Restoration Fund applications and Tidelands Fund applications. She works on all of that stuff. This will probably allow us to stay within our budget this year and not have to go borrow some more.
Well, she does, and I think I'm sensing that we're applying for more grants and significantly more grants. I don't have numbers in front of me, but it just appears, based on the budgets and the projects that we've been presenting for Tidelands and everything, she's the one writing these grants, correct?
Right, and
most of them.
Team effort.
Yeah,
Right.
don't
No, no,
underestimate the
I
5-year
understand.
part of the 5-year plan requires a little bit more detail, a little bit more, projection.
Right, but if
Yes.
we're pulling in more grant funds, then it would appear she's certainly worth the expense. That's my point. Thank you.
Anything else? All in favor of the consent agenda? Unanimous vote? Any exceptions?
Come on, Demi. Gotta have one.
Guess not.
He'll leave the room with you. Don't worry about it. He'll
Code
leave the room.
enforcement
He'll be
hearings?
okay.
That would be nice.
The first case on the agenda, item A, Thal Owen Doan, 395 Forest Avenue. This property is still in violation.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of Tal Al Don at 395 Forest Avenue? If not, this case is closed.
Item B on the agenda, Federal National Mortgage Association, 257 Seal Avenue. This property is still in violation, but the mortgage company has taken it over, and today they started working on the house. They're going to clean out the inside, clean up the outside, and secure all the openings. So I would ask for another 2 weeks to allow them to do that.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Timming and seconded by Mr. Guines for 2-week extensions. All in favor? Unanimous vote.
Item C, Charles H. Hungerford, 673 Royal Drive. That case has been resolved.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Creel. Do I have a motion on the routine agenda?
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Tisdale, second by Mr. Guines. Any discussion, Mr. Lawrence?
All right, Walt, what's the scoop? Appreciate the update. Thank you.
All in favor? Unanimous vote. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Lawrence.
Motion by Mr. Tisdale. Second by Mr. Guines. All in favor? Meeting adjourned.